Hello and welcome, everybody. My name again is Steve Kazan. I'm working with Inner Onion and also CodeNow. We are in Mountain View at the JJLake facility, and Peter is in Prague. If we could go to the next slide, I'll talk about what we're going to go through today. Thank you. If you all on the phone line can put your phones on mute, that would be great. So we don't hear the background like that. Who's ever got their phone on mute? We do have a questionnaire, so I'm going to turn that on in a second. If you could answer these couple of questions for us, that would be very helpful. We'd appreciate that. If you have any questions as Peter's going through, please enter your questions in the chat column or the chat function in Zoom, and we will address those at the towards the end of the presentation. We are recording this presentation, as you heard, and we will provide the slides to all the attendees and all the registrants. So don't worry about that. And then for those in the room here in Mountain View at JJLake, please help yourself to coffee and breakfast that's provided. So just to kind of wrap that up, I'd like to say thank you to our hosts at JJLake. It's a fine facility, and so we're quite pleased to be here. So with that, I've launched the poll. It's up on your screen. If you all can take a minute and fill that out, give answers a couple of these questions. It'll help Peter kind of tailor his remarks, and then it'll help us understand your businesses a little bit better. So if we could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so I'll hand this presentation over to our host, Ifu, who will talk about JJLake for a couple of minutes and the nice facility and the programs that they have around the world.
Sure, I'll make sure to keep it short. Thank you, Steve. Hi, everyone. Everyone on the Zoom, everyone in the room. My name is Ifu, and I'm with JJLake. It's our great pleasure to work with Inner Onion and also CodeNow. So JJLake is a cross-border focused accelerator, especially from the US, Asia, US, China angle. So basically we help the local US entrepreneurs to tap into the Asia market. So for anyone with cross-border roots who want to leverage the resources there, whether it's like supply chain, manufacturers, we can be here to help. So basically we started this journey back in 2018. And we have our dedicated program to help with that. And right now we're headquartered in Silicon Valley. We have chapter in Boston and Germany, Frankfurt. At a very basic level, we're running innovation center. So take Silicon Valley space, for example, it's a 18,000 square feet space in Mountain View. And on top of this physical facility, we're trying to build our cross-border focused community. So right now on MailChimp, we have roughly 16,000 subscribers. 17% of them are speaking Mandarin Chinese, and a lot of them are entrepreneurs, investors, tech talents are interested in cross-border business. So and on top of this community, we're serving both sides. So we're providing service to investors. Whenever they come to the Silicon Valley, we help them with a deal sourcing, referral, executive program. And for startup side, we help them tap into the Asia market. China is our biggest partners. We are working closely with Suzhou Industrial Park. We help them with localizations to get the fundings, local fundings. And also we help those companies in China to tap into the US. So as we're based here, we help them with local incorporations and branding, etc. So if you are interested in learning more about us, our website is jjlaker.com, and you can learn more about our programs and everything there. And if you're interested, shoot us an email. It's info@jjlaker.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Petra, if you could go to the next slide and tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, so hello everyone. My name is Peter Svoboda. I'm a founder and CEO of CodeNow. And just in brief, so you know what experience I'm talking from. I have started coding very long time ago. did a couple startups, running one startup at the moment, and I did a lot of professions from the developer through managerial positions in research and development, top level positions at Ministry of Education in Czech Republic, and later on my last job where I was actually employed was IBM. And since then, that's like 6-7 years ago, and since then I'm actually starting up. So nowadays, a couple companies, and yeah, employing roughly 100 people nowadays. And all of the companies that we do are focused on development, productivity, and delivering and supporting companies in delivering highly scalable applications. So that's my focus. And what I would like to talk about today is what is the single most significant problem a lot of people is experiencing when while delivering digital products. And basically the problem that I can talk about and I would like to talk about today is called defocus. When I was younger, I didn't quite understand what especially investors mean by saying, well, we would want you to be focused on single thing, you know, and not to be defocused by anything else. And later on, I have found out that this topic is definitely interesting in multiple layers, not only on the, let's say, founder or company owner or investor point of view. Why? Well, because when you are not focused to your core domain, it means that you are spending a lot of time, a lot of resources, one of the most precious resources being time, on solving problems that do not contribute to added value in the long term. And that means that you are spending maybe money, maybe some other resources like time on something that will not be appreciated, not by your customers, not by your investors, and at certain point in time, even not by your colleagues. And at what stage of the company buildup is this topic relevant? Well, I would say it's relevant at every stage. It does not really matter whether you are angel invested or whether you are already scaling or whether you are actually running enterprise with 10,000 employees and just doing some innovation on a department level. We have just signed one customer for CodeNow named Foxconn. You probably know that's a rather big enterprise, and defocus and focus on a core business and core domain is exactly one of the topics that was the reason why they have chosen CodeNow. How can you fight with the defocus? Well, there is, of course, many different ways. It depends if you are in manufacturing, maybe a bit different situation than if you are delivering a digital product like a SaaS product. Nonetheless, I will be talking about how to fight with the defocus when you are delivering digital products and writing software which runs in cloud. And there is a lot of topics that can actually drag and beg for your attention, and you should not actually try to fall into that trap. So I will just continue. One quick term I would like to talk about is a value stream delivery platform. Typically, when you are writing software, and it does not really matter whether you are writing like manufacturer execution system or whether you are writing a new e-commerce product or some AI solving world's greatest problems, does not really matter. What matters is your customers have some needs and they appreciate, and you want to deliver them some value. There is a lot of stuff happening in between the need and the value. And exactly if you will start focusing on something that is outside of the added value, well, that's where the defocus happens. Value stream delivery platforms are here to help you with way how you observe and how you manage the software delivery process. So basically, you want to deliver software, or companies are delivering software. As I said at the beginning, does not really matter whether you are a startup and you are small, scale up, whether you are established enterprise and you just have a department and you want to innovate with new products and services on the market. There are some common traits or some key attributes of startup-like environment, where I would say the most critical ones: limited processes and bureaucracy. because you want to minimize slowdowns and you want to quickly iterate towards, well, maybe idea validation, maybe minimum viable product, maybe just some feedback from a focus group. You definitely should have appetite for risk taking and for being able to manage uncertainty and change, which is something that is definitely part of a startup endeavor. There is always sophisticated market testing and validation of new digital products, of whatever you are delivering. That's something that should be sorry for that. That should be part of a startup-like environment, because without feedback loop and without validation, well, the question is how you iterate. One of the common attributes is incremental funding. Typically, you do not have unlimited amount of funds, and you always have to achieve something in order to get next level of funding. And last but not least, you work with a limited time and limited resources. And again, if you are angel invested and you have 3 months to deliver your MVP, or whether you are within a corporation and your manager gave you just 6 months, to deliver the proof that market really wants this kind of a new service, that's the limitation that you have. And because of that, not focusing on the core added value, on the core domain of your business, that's exactly what will cause that you will miss the deadline and you will most likely miss the budget. So let's say at a certain moment you have delivered your MVP, you have delivered your prototype, and okay, this is what market wants, and now I need to scale the operations. Now I have landed another Series A, Series B kind of a budget, or I have got approval from my stakeholders within enterprise to actually grow big with whatever we are doing, and there are problems coming in. These are 6 most common problems that we have actually, or I have learned that are appearing. Onboarding of new colleagues, while not trashing responsibility, accountability, and freedom of movement. But just because you're scaling, you don't want to kill your culture, the way how you deliver products or something like that. You want to actually keep an eye on your culture and having a flourishing culture, I would say. Another problem that is quite often appearing while scaling your idea, your digital product, is that OpEx is either in the create phase or in the run phase of the software will quickly grow and can easily become unmanageable. There is a zillion topics on a microservice architecture and on actually how not to get eaten by growing costs to run the software. I will show you how to do that with CodeNow. Then there is another topic, which is release management. At the beginning, when you're small or you are doing just MVP and you do not have a really big obligation to your market, well, that's easy, but at certain moment when you start scaling, you will find out, okay, now I'm running 24/7 supporting 10,000 customers. How do I deliver new features without interruption, without actually losing data, without compromising the customer success or the customer quality? As part of the release management, what is very tightly coupled is configuration management. Most likely your solution will grow in complexity over time, and you will have multiple components deployed across multiple of environments, and there will be zillion developers sooner or later contributing to the overall solution or solutions. And then the question is, how do you keep configuration of all those components in a documented, maybe automated, but last but not least, hassle-free kind of a approach, how to actually manage the configuration complexity. Secrets management, well, security is definitely top topic, let's say, today. There is a lot of risks involved with running software in public cloud environment, but also in a private cloud, in on-prem deployments. And the more resources your digital product or your software solution will use, the more secrets there will be. And then the question is, okay, so now I have developers all over the world and they are delivering multiple components, and each component has multiple endpoints and everything is secured. How do I keep that under control? And one thing that one should always keep an eye on is performance management, because the software has certain performance with certain size, but when you scale it and you don't have hundreds of customers, but suddenly you have thousands and tens of thousands of customers, the question is your solution scaling horizontally, or does it actually work, and do you pay well the least bucks in order to manage the scale of your customers? If you do not have a proper performance management of the resources, how much does it eat and why, how much does it consume and how much do I pay? If you don't know, well, then you can easily get into a situation that the budget will be very hard to manage. Because I don't want to actually bother you with too much detail, maybe we will go through that in the question and answers phase. There is some 12-factor manifesto, which is from the software delivery point of view, how you should write software in order to be portable. Because one of the most critical mistakes, what I have learned, when people are focusing on their core domain, what you can easily miss is that you will fall into the vendor lock trap of your cloud provider. And suddenly you will find yourself, okay, so I have delivered software with one cloud, but that cloud provider is basically cause of my unmanaged OpEx growth. So then you can say, okay, I will renegotiate a contract with different cloud provider. The question is, can you move your software from one cloud provider to another? Well, by focusing on the 12-factor and using that as your manifesto when delivering software, I will say not 100% automatically, but you will very much improve your chances of your software being portable to different cloud provider. In general, writing software to be compliant with something which is called cloud native means that you will achieve predictable releases. People are not actually writing software and then when will I release it, and when will my customers actually see that? I don't want to write software. I want to deliver value to my customers. Therefore, I need to release it. Improve ownership of things. Who is responsible for what? Is there a single guy? If you have hundreds of components spanning across, I don't know, 50, 100 developers, in bigger enterprises later on, thousands of developers, who owns what? Who is responsible for what? I want to improve component mobility. Maybe not all components should be running with the same cloud provider. Maybe if I'm doing machine learning, I want to leverage different cloud provider because of cheap GPU, but then I have a last mile delivery to my US customers and I want to run different portion of my solution in US with different cloud provider. Suddenly I need to move my components from one cloud to another or support multiple clouds. I definitely want to shorten my release cycle. So from the moment the product manager says, this is what our customers want, or this is what I believe our customers would appreciate, how much time does it take to deliver it so it is running and delivering the value? Then shorten fix time. The thing is that not always everything works and you need to fix bugs. That's just happening. And then the question is, how long does it take for you to identify the root cause of the bug? How long does it take for someone to reproduce the bug? How long does it take to deliver the fix to production? Decouple releases, well, that's talking about the fact that sometimes when your solution will be growing bigger, you will find that you have front office, you have back office, you have some specialists doing machine learning, someone's taking care of data warehouse and reporting. Suddenly, all of those people can become quickly part of a single constraint or single critical chain where they will say, I cannot release new reporting unless someone else will will deliver a new warehouse. I cannot do new warehouse until someone else delivers new API, etc. So you want to decouple the releases so each and every department can deliver on their own. improve scalability, resiliency, and availability. That's the non-functional environments that you always want to have at best. Talking about CodeNow, what are the CodeNow goals from the product perspective? We definitely want to empower developers while keeping the costs under control. We want to abstract away of the multiple infrastructures where you operate. We want to simplify and automate software delivery lifecycle or the workflow within cloud native space. And we want to leverage open source component rather than reinventing the wheel and writing just another platform. Altogether, talking about CodeNow, you can take a look at it as a self-service developer platform, which is infrastructure agnostic, based only on open source component, enabling you to run multi-cloud or hybrid cloud workloads, including on-prem. So we have customers like banks that are running completely air-gapped environments, not connected to the internet at all. On the other hand, we also have startups that are doing social networks, and really highly scalable software that is delivering fancy digital products. From the developer perspective, you can take a look at CodeNow as a gamepad, which simplifies the way how they live in the day-to-day software delivery world. Why? Well, because there is lack of highly educated developer workforce, and sometimes you just have to live with what you have. Therefore, lowering the bar of complexity of delivering cloud-native software means you can employ more developers with shorter onboarding period, and at the end of the day, maybe even cut the wages and improve the productivity. We have been recognized by Gartner in multiple papers, mostly in a market guide and hype cycles for agile and DevOps, or maybe software engineering, as one of the leading platforms in the value stream delivery category. I will not drill down into the components of CodeNow. If anyone would be interested, I'm more than happy to actually go to one-to-one session and drill down into the technology detail. I would like to come to some conclusions, so we have some time for question and answers. So basically, what are the scaling enablers? So you have actually delivered your MVP, your prototype. You actually have written something that works and you want to continue and you want to scale. You are going to ask for more money and they will ask, okay, so how will you guarantee that you will handle the scaling phase? So you can solve the onboarding problem by providing a self-servicing to onboarding. The more self-explanatory and the more comprehensive overview the developers or the people who are part of the software delivery process they have during the onboarding phase, the more they can do the onboarding themselves. And therefore, the less it will take from the either time or money perspective. From the OpEx's perspective, well, be prepared that not all the resources that you have used during the MVP will be there when your product will mature. At the beginning, it might be a very good idea actually to go with some cheap product, but later on you will find out, well, maybe I want to switch to Enterprise Edition, or maybe I am paying very much for this kind of a database, and if I would switch to a different provider of the database, I could save a ton of money. The question is, can I do that? One of the biggest cost savers we see is being able to renegotiate a longer term contract with your cloud provider. That there will be subsidies coming. They are throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars in subsidies to either startups or to switchers from one company to another. And the question is, can I take my software to a different cloud provider? If so, well, that's very good. That's where I can save a ton of money. Local optimizations means I have a workload and maybe not all components are actually source of the OpEx growth. We have a different meetup and different presentation, which is solely focused on how to manage costs in a cloud native world, which basically says that you can focus in several times just to one component, and you can actually drag down your costs by tens of percents. Release management, by having a strong automated release management, which enforces semantic versioning and which is self-serviced by developers, that's again, it's a productivity gainer. You will mitigate meetings, there are no statuses, and people can move ahead by themselves. Your team will be able to deliver releases on themselves without a huge organizational cooperation, which is always a benefit from the time perspective. And configuration and secrets management, well, that's pretty much about automation. You want to have those two very much automated, and the less human intervention there is, better for you, because humans are always source of an error. Performance management. One of the most typical problems is that performance management is done only on the infrastructure level, and it is infrastructure specific. You can always purchase performance tools or application performance monitoring, some observability tools from a cloud provider. Nonetheless, they're pretty much always infrastructure only, and they do not see inside of your application workload. Therefore, you have no idea that just this one particular function, this feature I have delivered to the digital product is actually causing what? 15-20% of all the performance problems. And B, well, if it is not infrastructure agnostic, at the moment you will move to a different cloud provider or introduce just few components to a different cloud provider, you will find out that the performance management is not available there, and you have to rework a lot of stuff, therefore another capital expenditures. So one customer, we have a scale-up customer which is in the artificial intelligence field, roughly 20 developers, hundreds of components being developed. And these guys have adopted CodeNow in past 3 months. And from the number perspective, we were able to drop their costs from something like 60K a month to something like 12K a month, which is a huge cost reduction. But also we have helped them with the onboarding, with the OPEXs, with the release management and configuration management through automation. Secrets management definitely worry-free, no manual labor, and transparency and root cause optimization or root cause analysis to find out what is the source of the underperformance of the software. That's it. 27 minutes. Thank you.
Nicely done. You're right on schedule. So we do have some time for questions. And I'll open it up to anyone in the room. Do you guys have any questions about saving your costs or speeding up your programming or anything that Petra talked about?
Not right now.
Not at the moment.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I do have a couple of questions that I've seen come through. One of them is the role of AI in being more efficient with your coding and your development projects. So if you could kind of touch on that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so one thing is that AI is quite often employed as the continuous optimization solver. So within CodeNow, we have nowadays for selected customers, beta customers, component called Ops AI, which basically solves the scaling problem in order to have at least in the least number of instances running as possible without any rigorous configuration. So the AI basically observes, and on basis of some anomaly detection patterns, basically it is trying to optimize and find the local minimum of the resources that you need to run. And that's exactly where the AI is actively helping you to scale your solution to optimal performance while consuming the least number of resources. So that's one thing where I can see. Another thing is that a lot of developers that are using CodeNow are on the side actually using AI as a, let's say, some helper, some advisor. You know, there is a GitHub Copilot, for example, that helps them write code. There are some experiments nowadays with the ChatGPT, where actually in CodeNow they will just scaffold the component, but what the source codes which is written inside Well, a lot of developers is turning to the ChatGPT nowadays. Well, could you please write me a skeleton of this? I need to expose the interface. They just copy paste the code, put it to the CodeNow, build it, release it, and it's running in Azure very quickly. So this is a trend that we are observing, and maybe in foreseeable future, it seems that Microsoft will be creating ChatGPT as a service as part of their offering. So over there, we will maybe introduce it as a part of integrated solution of CodeNow, for example.
Cool, that's really interesting. Question coming in online, is there a BYOC option? So if someone has a cloud already, how does CodeNow work with that?
Yeah, well, actually, at the moment, we do support a lot of clouds from the custom cloud perspective. Yeah, the way how CodeNow is on architecture level prepared is that there is a, let's say, generic cloud control, and then there are adapters to the managed Kubernetes provider. CodeNow relies on managed Kubernetes, which is provided by someone. So whether it is your custom or whether it is some industry standard, it's about some adapter. So definitely we are capable of actually supporting that. Yes.
Okay. And then sort of a related question about on-prem. So you talked about clouds. Is on-prem an option as well?
Yeah, definitely. We have a Societe Generale daughter bank as a customer, which is running completely on-prem. And lately, as I said, at the beginning of January, we have signed a contract with Foxconn, which will be running on VMware on-prem plus some public cloud option. So yes, we do support on-prem.
Got it. Okay. And then you talked about one productivity improvement in terms of cost from 60,000 to 12,000 per month. Are there other productivity improvements that have been proven out that you can touch on?
Yeah, well, definitely. We have observed a huge time decrease when onboarding new developers. I mean, as big as 80%. Typically, especially in a corporate environment, you know, to onboard to the running delivery process, developer is exposed to a really complex tool chain, and to get experience how to, you know, work with the tool chain takes something between 10 to 20 days. With CodeNow, they are effective after 2-3 days typically. So that's number one. Number two is definitely developer productivity, because within CodeNow, so many things automated. Plus, CodeNow brings integrated observability on the application level. Therefore, developers are able to spot the source of the error way sooner. Therefore, they are able to deliver. And I can say that what we have measured at one of our logistics customer was improvement about 20%. And that it was a measurement that was happening over a period of 2 months on a quorum of 50 developers. Last but not least, well, there is DevOps automation topic. You can automate a lot from the continuous integration, continuous deployment, configuration, and provisioning. I would say that, again, on that logistics customer, we did measure something like a 60% cost decrease or 60% DevOps effort increase. It really, it is a question, who is doing that, you know? Sometimes you have a platform team, sometimes you have a well-educated developers, but I think that I have it somewhere here. Yeah, 67% of DevOps effort over specialized DevOps roles. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay, great. Petra, there's another question online. CodeNow compared to Gitpod, how would you consider, are they similar or are they different?
Yeah, well, look, Gitpod is a very nice piece of technology, and I believe that very soon we already have a working beta where, well, okay, so Gitpod is essentially about online environment running in your browser where you edit your code, whereas CodeNow is mostly about, so you have produced a source code, and then you have to merge, integrate, deploy, package, deploy somewhere. So I would say that we do step in immediately after you finish your work in GitHub. So let me just very quickly show something. So what we are actually thinking about at the moment is that I have components of some solution, and here exactly will be. So nowadays you need to actually get source codes to your computer. More and more customers are asking about, well, we don't want the developers, you know, to actually clone source codes to their computers because it's an IP protection problem. Yeah, I don't want my source code to be on some foreign notebooks. So they are exactly asking edit here. So I want to edit in the browser, and they are doing everything. So that's exactly where I would invoke Gitpod and say, hey, Gitpod, please clone this component, and so the developer can code this API using Gitpod online.
Got it. Okay. So I think that's the last of the questions, last call for questions. If we could just wrap up with the last 2 slides, I think we're good to go. Okay, so follow-on items. What to do next? And back in the presentation mode. Here are several things you can do. One of them is if you want to have a conversation on your processes and best practices for your processes, we're happy to sit down and have that conversation. Petra's seen many instances, talked to many clients that can streamline just by making some changes. If you want to try the software, there's a couple different ways to do that. One would be through kind of a demo. One would be through a trial. And we're happy to support you in that. There's also a pilot or a promotion. And here is a coupon, good for a license discount. So the JJLake folks that are on the call and those folks that are online, please get a hold of me, and happy to have a discussion with that. There is a deadline for taking advantage of that, which is the end of February, so not too far away. And then it looks like there's one more question that's rolled through. DevZero, Gitpod, GitHub code spaces, can they be used together with CodeNow? So how do you sort of mix and match the open source tools of what you're using today with what CodeNow brings to the party?
Yeah, right. So the funny thing is, if you mean JetBrains code spaces, well, the JetBrains offices are literally like, I don't know, 500 meters away from us. And we are in talks with JetBrains to integrate CodeNow and CodeSpaces, as their focus is exactly more on the developer experience and the IDE, whereas our focus is more on, I would say, the life cycle of the software and operations of the software within the cloud, or within, let's say, cloud agnostic multi-cloud environment. So I would say we are complementary, although there is a slight overlap. Gitpod definitely complementary, because their focus is exactly as I said, that's mostly on code editing, whereas our focus is more on integrating the source code and making sure it runs with some quality. So again, I would say complementary. Nowadays, CodeNow is not opinionated at all. Basically, we say, hey, here is a Git, check it out, use some secure way of how to download it to your computer. And from there on, whether you use IntelliJ IDEA or you use Visual Studio Code, CodeNow does not care. You know, you end your work, actually commit something to the feature branch or to some branch, and yeah, and that's where actually CodeNow kicks in again. But yeah, we don't want to actually be on the local machine. I would say one specific gainer, again, it's another bank customer where we were solving a problem that basically developers had to have a lot of resources running on their local computer, because they were delivering a service, and then I need a database, and I need a cache, and I need a message broker, everything running on a notebook. Well, a lot of resources, and you need expensive notebooks then. So one gainer that we have actually helped them with is that all these backend resources are running in CodeNow within a cloud environment securely, and they are just using a VPN. So from what they are having on the local machine is just the single component and few source codes constituting given component. Everything else attached from the cloud.
Okay, got it. So I think that's it. So to wrap up, we'd just like to say thank you again. Petra, thank you for the presentation and the slides. For the audience members, we will send out a copy, and we'll send you the recording link when that's ready. It's likely to be tomorrow morning. And thank you again to our hosts at JJLake, the attendees who are here in the room today, and the JJLake folks and others who've taken time from your day to spend with us. So with that, I will wrap up and wish everybody a good day.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Steve.
you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.